Adequate notice of this meeting was provided according to law by written notice to the Morris County Daily Record, the official newspaper of the town of Morristown, and to the Newark Star Ledger, both more than 48 hours ago, and posted on the bulletin board at Town Hall and filed with the office of the town clerk of the town of Morristown. I do further state that I shall enter into the minutes of this meeting a statement that such notice was furnished as particularly described by me in this public announcement. Take a roll call. Councilman Armington?
Here.
Councilwoman Davis?
Here.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Here.
Councilman Iannacone?
Here.
Councilman Silva?
Here.
And Council President Foster.
Here.
Councilman Elms is excused this evening. Council President, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I'd like to ask that we have a moment of silence, please, before we rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And I'd like to remember Melvin Dumas during this moment of silence.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can we all stand, please?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We have 5 items on the consent agenda this evening. I do have a couple of revisions on number 1, the regular meeting minutes of January 23rd, 2018. Second paragraph in paragraph H of the minutes. The first sentence is changed to Councilman Iannacone stated that the storage facility is a matter for the redevelopment committee. Continuing on. And in paragraph J, the first paragraph is replaced to read, Councilman Iannacone stated that the parking authority still needs to improve on the process where it is clear on the number of spaces available in its lots for developers applying to the planning board. The planning board, Board of Adjustment, and the parking authority are still working on perfecting this process. Unless there are any of the items that the council would like to discuss individually, I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion.
Council President, I'm going to have to abstain from the minutes to the 23rd, so I don't know if you want to make a motion to just adopt 2 through 5 and amend the rules, or I can just abstain while we do them in Moss, but I'm abstaining to 1, because I was excused that evening.
Just gotta remove it. It's not a consent. Just gotta pull one out. Yeah, we just gotta pull it.
So make a motion to pull 1 out.
Second.
Make a motion to vote in Moss 2 through 5.
Second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Are we voting on 2 through 5?
I'm sorry, on 2 through 5.
Yes.
I'm sorry about that. Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Foster?
Yes.
And then on item 1 on the consent agenda, on motion made, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Foster?
Yes.
Motion's carry. We have 4 items, 3 specific items for the public hearing this evening. The first one is the Deirdre O'Brien Child Advocacy Center CDBG 2018 application for clinical counseling program. I will open up the floor for any comments from the public. If you would please come to the microphone, state your name and address, and keep your comments to 5 minutes. No one?
Do we have anybody here from the Deirdre O'Brien Child Advocacy? Would you like to come before us and speak?
Hello, my name is Jamie Kaiser. I'm the program coordinator at Deirdre's House.
Could you spell your last name?
Kaiser. We have applied for the Community Development Block Grant the last few years. This grant for the 2018 year is to continue our clinical counseling program, to fund one of our clinicians, the salary, and then also for supervision and training. So we have 4 full-time clinicians that provide clinical counseling to child victims of abuse and neglect in Morris County, primarily sexual abuse. So we provide throughout the entire county from Jefferson to Mendham. So this grant assists us in helping fund one of our clinical counselors and continuing to provide group and individual counseling.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any comments from the council?
Is there a
Yeah, you just have to sign something.
Yes.
Usually they have it with them.
Can we do it after?
Do you have your document for me to sign?
I have part of the application.
You have it here, right?
I do, but I don't have it marked.
Please, could you see if the signature's on that page?
I'm sorry, Mayor, I was going to send it up to your office tomorrow. I have it right. I just,
All right, send it to my office tomorrow.
going forward, I will have it ready for you at the meeting.
Yeah, that'd be fine. I'll take care of it. Call the
Thank you.
office tomorrow.
Okay, any comments from the council? Okay. Moving on to the Emergency Solutions Grant from Visions and Pathways Prosperity Rapid Rehousing Program. Any comments from the public?
And do we have anybody here from the Emergency Solutions Grant Committee? Okay, seeing none.
Just send that up and I'll sign it tomorrow.
Yes, sir. And we have the Community Development Block Grant for Visions and Pathways Prosperity Program. Are there any comments from the public? Hearing none. Any comments from the council?
Just, this is very minor, but there was a typo in number 2. There's an I after prosperity. Just delete that on the agenda.
I'm not.
Minor. but Typo's a typo.
I took it out, and it's not on mine.
Okay.
Either I was looking like, where?
That's why it's minor.
Okay, thank you for that note. I'll make sure it's correct in the
And
record.
why.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to invite members of the public to come up and speak on any matter they wish. Please approach the microphone, state your name and address, and please keep your comments to 5 minutes.
Marge?
She didn't even raise her hand.
She did.
She did.
Oh, she did? I like that. How you doing?
Good.
So we meet again. Margaret Brady, 1 Franklin Place, Morristown, New Jersey. I think first on my list is, at the last meeting, Toshiba mentioned keeping a list of the ongoing items in order that the council can more easily keep track of what was done. And I think that's an excellent idea. And one of the things that came to mind was, as I was going through some old papers, I came across the request I had made to add Willow Hall to your list of historic sites, which everyone agreed to do last April. And I checked the town website, but it hasn't been added. So maybe you could put it back, or if you have your new list, you can start with that. My second thing is, the redevelopment meeting last week was very interesting, and it was heartwarming to see how many citizens care about our town and how it's developed. One of the things that everyone seemed to agree on was that they support the arts. They didn't like the particular facility that was being offered. And as I was looking on Morris Street, and I'm interested in history, I noticed that the First Ward Hose Company is no longer effective for use as a firehouse because the equipment won't fit into it, but it's a great historic building in a line with a lot of other historic buildings on Morris Avenue, and I wondered if the town might consider letting the arts group use the firehouse as their meeting house. It has a garage door, naturally, for the fire trucks. I had been in it years ago, and I know there was a very nice meeting room upstairs that was quite comfortable, and I would think it would adapt well for that use, and it would keep it used, and it would be worthwhile. And then one of the things that really struck me about the storage warehouse presentation was that most of us aren't that quick with our math. And so the thing that kept coming up was that the building needed to be 100,000 square feet in order to house, I think it was 900 storage units because of the
750.
great need in the area.
March 750.
Okay. And I thought, and they also mentioned that there have been 70 new apartment units added to the area, which add to the demand. And I thought, gee, at 1,000 square feet apiece, which is usually the size of an apartment that would want storage, that would be 70,000 square feet. And with the building proposed at 100,000 square feet, that's a lot of storage for each new apartment in the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Marge.
Okay. Are there any responses from the council, from the public comments this evening?
What do they use the old warehouse for? I mean, the old firehouse? Interesting.
First ward, the whole company.
Yeah. Oh, is there an actual fire truck in there?
Maybe floor damage, there may be some,
They still use it.
they still use it,
do?
but there's some structural, I think there's a few structural issues. But I'll gladly have the head of the first hose fire company get in touch with me.
Oh, good.
Where is it exactly?
It's right on Morris.
Next to the,
Meisler's?
a couple of stores down,
Toward
towards
the,
the car deal, the used car.
towards the train?
Yeah,
Okay,
on the same side as Nestler's.
okay.
It's on the parking side.
It's
right
next to
above
Super Gold.
Gold, Super Goals.
You know, gas station. That. and
Car
that
place,
dealership.
Any other
Okay.
comments? Okay, thank you.
Do we have any more members of the public wishing to come before us this evening? Seeing none, we'll close the public portion.
Thank you.
Moving on to mayor's proclamations, presentations, and reports.
As mentioned in the beginning, Melvin Dumas had passed away. He was a police officer in Marshtown. He retired with the chief of as a sergeant. And we just wanted to make sure that we recognize that and his wake and funeral is Saturday, 17th.
At Calvary.
Yes.
At Calvary. So he was at our functions and always had a smile on his face.
Yes, he will be
So
missed.
he will be missed, but thank you for bringing that up, Councilwoman.
Was he an active officer
No, it was
or retired?
75,
Okay.
and passed away from pancreatic cancer. Again, for those who don't know, our attorney's grandma passed, so we want to keep, we did mention it a few meetings ago, but since it's the first time we're seeing him, we hope everyone in the family's doing well. Thank you, Mayor. There was the 24th, they had a partnership. Did we have, when's the last time we had a meeting? I don't want to repeat myself. I really shall get home.
3 weeks ago, on January 23rd.
24th, January, the partnership, Morristown Partnership held sponsors and friend reception at the Hyatt.
I'd like to again thank Michael Elms, he's not here, for helping disseminate the firewood. So a lot of people took advantage of. A community meeting took place with our police chief, who was in the audience, and the administration and the public on the 31st regarding safety. It was very well attended, and there was a good discussion back and forth. More to follow up on that in the very near future. February 9th, Bethel AME Dinner and Dialogue is part of the 2018 175th anniversary events. It'll be going on all year. So maybe I'll reach out to the Bethel and have them send the clerk their whole year of events so the council is aware of the very different things we're doing down there. We've got some interesting stuff coming up with Bethel. February. Well, I'm not repeating it all. Is it on?
Yeah, you're good now.
I'm not repeating it all. So, hope you heard me.
We heard you.
February 10th, Cupid's Chase 5K. Thursday night, I'll be attending at 6 o'clock, and you're all welcome to attend, is the Save of Your Teen Driving Workshop at Morristown High School. I'll be going there at 6. And on Monday, the 26th, there will be a grand opening. You should have an immediate release in your packet. If not, I'll make sure that Ms. Barrick sends it down to the clerk. Monday, the 26th, there'll be a Greenpoint Juicery grand opening in Morristown. That is at 28 Speedwell Avenue. So I think our Director of Law, Vij Pawar, is a juicer. Right? So he'll probably be there doing the ribbon cutting to get his juice. On that note, Council President, that's all I have this evening.
Thank you,
Wish
Mayor.
everybody a happy Valentine's.
Happy Valentine's Day. Okay, moving on to the mobility study presentation. This presentation will be presented by Phil Abramson, who's our town planner, and it's in regards to the first phase of the town-wide mobility study.
Thank you. Thank you all for your time this evening. I'm just going to get the slides set up here.
Should I make it darker? Should I turn down the light just a little bit?
Okay. All right. So again, members of the public, members of the council, council president, mayor, everybody, thank you for your time. I'm going to try to go through this as expeditiously as possible. I know you have a full agenda, but I am excited nonetheless to be here and to share some new information regarding Morristown's traffic situation and the progress we've made thus far as part of the planning effort that was authorized last year. So there's this presentation's broken up into three main sections. One was to sort of to do a recap and review why we did this, why we made this investment in our town. Two is to share four main findings, and three is just to give an idea of some of the next steps. So where we've been so far, beginning kind of this time last year, we worked actually with three different data firms to collect different data around Morristown. A lot of it was, we purchased GPS data from GPS devices to do origin-destination research, which I'll talk about. But the most intensive, one of the most intensive components of this study was to count all the cars at all the intersections, all their turning movements. So now we basically have a very, very precise understanding of how cars flow through the town. Based on that, we worked with a planning and an engineering firm to come up with some different ideas, and they basically came up with 33 different improvements. We're not going to go through all of them. We're not really going to go through any of them, physical improvements tonight, because tonight's really an introduction and to set ourselves up so we can continue to have these discussions and updates. So, and then after that, we went and met with the state DOT down in Trenton. We met with the county DOT to sort of share some of our ideas and findings. We had a very warm reception at both of those agencies. And we have some good news coming out of NJDOT, which is one of the main reasons I came, was to share that with you and with the public. And now we're kind of beginning this process of creating a dialogue around some of these improvement concepts, which we'll be doing over the first quarter and probably beyond of 2018. So, and where we're headed. So tonight, we're really here to talk mostly about the signal network in town. That's the big first step that we needed to get correct. I think it makes sense to do that because it's really the low-hanging fruit in terms of cost-benefit. And then, you fix the signals first, and then you start to do more serious interventions in terms of disrupting the road network and other things like that. Next month, as long as you'll have me, I'd like to come and share what we've learned about the green, because that was one of the major focus points of this effort. And then from there, it's going to be about kind of very targeted neighborhood conversations around certain intersections, because each of these improvement concepts will impact specific property owners or specific neighborhoods more than others. And we felt that after we've shared them with you as the council, to sort of go to those neighborhoods directly so they're not hearing it secondhand, because there are a series and spectrum of different options for these different kind of trouble points that we have, bottlenecks. And then from there, and I'll explain what I mean by all this, but developing the right cost-sharing framework for improvements, concept development, and then working again through the interagency, which is a huge part of what our role in this town is going to continue to be for the foreseeable future, if not indefinite future. Again, so the second part of this was to talk a little bit about and remind ourselves why we embarked on this. One was to implement the master plan, and there were two main recommendations as part of the final chapter of that master plan document in 2014 called Big Moves. One was to do a new zoning code, which we've basically done now, and we've been working through that for a series of years with the council and the planning board and the administration. So these things are actually kind of coming to the landing strip around the same time, which is nice to see. And then the other was to conduct a comprehensive traffic, pedestrian, and bike study for the green. What we soon realized in beginning to scope this work out is that you cannot study the green in isolation. The green is a hub. It's a hub of our community. It's a hub of our road network, but without the spokes, the hub kind of loses its context. So that's why the study grew into more of a corridor-based traffic study, looking at the impacts of 287, looking at the impacts of the green, and sort of where all the traffic feeds into the town. The second big thing was to facilitate decision-making, that Morristown, the state DOT, the county, and private developers have spent a lot of time and a lot of resources to come up with different ideas. And they've been implemented with different levels of expediency, and some we haven't been able to implement at all, like certain aspects of the bicycle plan, because certain things weren't worked out. But the big learning lesson for me, having been here for the years that I have, going through these traffic fixes and having these conversations around intersections, it's that I think one of the biggest things that prevents us from moving more quickly and moving more efficiently is that we didn't have a network-wide system view of our streets in this town. That we would study one intersection and we'd know that one really well, but then when it really came down to it, did we want to make that one way? Because what happens 2 streets down there? Because everybody knows how it works here. It's like, like stormwater or something, that you can channel it, but you cannot make it go away. So that was one of the other big things that I see coming out of this, is that we now, and I'm going to show you a little bit more, we have data for the entire town. We have a year's worth of trips coming in and out of this town, and we've modeled it all in a computer simulation. So if we want to test that one-way, turning the street from one-way to two-way, we will know and have a pretty good idea about what the impacts will be and where those impacts will pop up. And then we make a decision that way. The third thing is, we are not in control of our traffic signals in this town. We have 3 traffic signals out of 30 that the town has built over the years. Otherwise, they're all on, 27 of them are under control by the state. And it's, so I thought that there was something like this somewhere in New Jersey, that they were watching us, that they were making sure that we were getting from point A to point B, that if there was congestion, that somebody would push a button and say, you know what, Speedwell Avenue, we're going to give you green lights because we don't want to see you stuck in traffic. That's not, this is China, by the way, this is Beijing. So that's not happening. Those cameras at the top of each traffic signal, they're not connected to any monitors, they're connected to a computer that like automatically senses the shape of cars. So Morristown needs to look out for itself, in other words. And when we went down to DOT and when we shared these concerns with them, this is the advice we got. We have to be the squeaky wheel, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease. So what this allows us to do, and I think what it allows us to do more effectively than the town has done in the past, is rather than going to DOT and saying, there's something wrong with the signals, or I can't cross the street at this location, or even worse, we're having car accidents here, you need to please fix this. We're going now with data, with concepts, with proposals to say, you need to let us do this. And this is what we want to do. And we've seen the power of this because we know now which department to get, which department head to get, who needs to be at these meetings, and what we need to say to them because we have the backup now. So this idea of data, it makes the case for more money, and it'll attract more resources for Morristown. So faster squeaky wheel repairs, going to the state, rather than saying, we see a lot of traffic and congestion on Speedwell Avenue between this street and this street. It's no. We know that this one right turn is the problem and that needs to get fixed, and if that gets fixed, the rest of the thing should flow. So this way you're not going to them with a problem, you're going to them with a solution, and they just need to get out of the way, basically. The next is getting more money for grants. We've been very successful getting grants for this sort of stuff, and without the data. And I think that a lot of times when I'm filling out those grant applications, I have this like touch of insecurity that like I'm not really answering the question exactly what they're asking about, like how many trips or how is this going to improve, and like quantify it, because we just haven't had it. So now we will. And I think that we'll see even better performance with regard to grants. And then finally, and something I'm going to hit on at the end, is this idea of a cost-sharing framework. With working with developers, and as projects get built, they should be paying for a portion of the impact that they have on signals and on roadways and the kinds of improvements that they necessitate in this town. And we've done it on the larger projects, but we just haven't had an efficient way to do it at the board level on the smaller projects, the one that does 2% of the signal. Like we've done the ones that do 100% of the signal or 50% of the signal. And that's where we've created those efforts, because there's so much, bless you, there's so much effort and resources that need to go into accurately projecting these things. And this is a project that I think we're all very proud of. And this was one that's a story about attracting resources. So the town spent comparatively a modest amount of money designing this streetscape, and we were able to get $1 million almost in grants from NJDOT to redo intersections and to redo the streetscape here. So, you know, the learning lesson here is that when the town makes a small investment in what I'll call soft costs, like the design, the analysis, the study, we get it back in spades. And I think that this study will be giving back, and we will seeing a return on our investment for years to come. We did an analysis. This got 40-to-1 return on investment for the town. So the importance of data generally and sort of what we're talking about in terms of what we did here, we counted turning movements at over 30 intersections, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but at each of these intersections, there's about 12 movements. So we're talking about 360 movements with cars going 24 hours a day, and that's the kind of data that underlies all these conclusions. The other piece of data we got from a really innovative company called Streetlight. They take cell phone data, basically, and aggregate it. They buy it from whoever sells it. And we have a 12-month, so it was March 2016 to March 2017, every car that came in and out of Morristown. And we were able to tell some pretty interesting things about where they were coming from and where they're going, and I'm going to share with you the highlights of that. And then this data ends up being the foundation for our traffic solutions here. What happened next was that data and the counts and the origin destination data was fed into a computer model. And this computer model is dynamic. It allows us to make changes and then see how the traffic reacts. Oop. Oh no. Well, this does animate. It should animate. Wah, wah.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. I don't know why it's not working, but I'm not gonna.
There was a play button.
Yeah, I see this play button.
It's not working?
It says cannot play. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Phil, if we have traffic studies at planning boards and zoning boards, can you plug their data into your model and generate
That's
predicted
what-
outcomes?
That's the proposal.
That's exactly right.
And it will be, and I've looked all over for precedents, like I like to copy other people's work, like, make no mistake. There's no way to copy. Like there's a couple cities in California that are doing this, but we've had to really start. So I think it's going to be a great thing, and I think Morristown is the perfect town that needs, like necessity is the mother of invention. Like Morristown needs this because we have a lot going on here, and we need to take advantage of this moment in history, prosperity, to reinvest in this street network.
What was the model? Synchro or something else?
Yeah, it's a synchro animation, but it's about sort of using it for traffic impact studies and using it to do pro rata cost sharing, and which I'll talk a little bit. So the 4 findings. So I didn't come here to tell you, like some other traffic engineers do, oh, there's no traffic, and it won't have an impact, and no problem. No, we have identified issues, we've quantified issues, that both in the morning commute and in the evening commute, we see intersections at approaching unacceptable levels or at unacceptable levels of congestion. What this data shows you is they grade intersections, engineers, A through F. And so that's what each of these intersection colors are. And then the other is the underlying, we just took the Google Street View data because we thought it was interesting to look at how the congestion on the streets equates back to congestion at different intersections. And you could see that the evening commute is significantly worse in Morristown, especially along South Street, because all the activity, like we are all traffic, we're going to dinner, going to school, coming here, like we're all doing our little piece to contribute to that. And the town's roads are doing a lot more in that evening period, which is, I think, a sign. It's like a high-quality problem. It's a sign of our success and the desirability of this town for people that want to come here to go to dinner, for people that are working here, going home, living, So traffic, in some ways, is a good thing, or it's a sign of desirability. But we can manage it better than we are. So that's another good thing. Another thing, 1/3 of all drivers in Morristown are just passing through. So 1 out of every 3 cars you see didn't come from here and isn't going here. 36%, so this comes from that cell phone data from the company Streetlight. 36% of all the data, of all the trips, of all the cars, at any given time of day are just passing through. 28% are origins of Morristown, and 29% are external origins having a destination in Morristown. The other 7% is just people circulating about the town. And so what we were also able to do with this data was to identify what are the highest locations of cut-through traffic in the town. And it was in the morning and in the evening, it was the same 5 corridors. So what this is showing you is that Mill Street northbound, for example, 74% of all the traffic on that street is cut through. No destination, no origin in this town. Washington Street, east and west, 70 and 62%, MLK Avenue, Ridgedale. Actually, I didn't. It's not the same exact 5, because Sussex is on this one, and it wasn't on this one.
Wait, what is this showing again? Can you
So
say
it's
that
showing
again?
Of all the cars that travel on these roads in the morning and in the evening rush hour, what percentage of them are just passing through the town?
So that's a lot higher than the 36%.
So these are concentrated, basically. The 36% is town-wide, all the trips aggregated. This is showing the 5 highest routes with the highest proportion of cut-through traffic. So one of the reasons for congestion is that we found.
Can you go back to that again?
Please.
Can you please just state for the record what those 5 intersections are?
Sussex Avenue westbound, this is in the evening peak. Sussex Avenue westbound, Mill Street southbound, Washington Street westbound, MLK northbound, and Ridgedale northbound.
And can you state for the record for the morning what they are?
Mill Street, Washington Street, MLK, and Ridgedale.
Thank you.
So a big chunk of this is caused because there's no coordination or connection between the signals, and that's a problem. So just to give you a bit, I'm not going to read through this, but that if you've ever been like in New York City on an avenue and you see that green light progression, they call it, that's done because there's like very sophisticated computer software, basically, that runs the computers that run the traffic signals. So it prioritizes corridors, it combines assumptions around speed, around distance, around, those are basically the things, speed and distance and volume, under these different factors. And it also has to coordinate the side streets with the corridor. So this is really how it should work, as you would see. You'd go through, and then, so you come to this reference signal, which is sort of your 0 point. You go 15 seconds later, traveling at the speed limit, you hit the next green signal, and then 35 seconds after that, you hit the next signal, and then you're out. But in Morristown, and we and the team went out there with walkie-talkies, cell phones, and timers, stopwatches, to time each of these signals and how they're actually happening, because they're not functioning consistent with the plans that the state laid out for them. So you'd have a green light and then a red light and then another red light, and it's like, why is this happening? So this, we've debated whether to include this or not, but I'm just gonna go over it like very, very quickly. So what these diagrams show you is this is the existing condition. So if you're heading from DeHart Street east, even though this says westbound, that's a mistake, you hit these red lights, and this is the progression. This is actual progressions of cars through the town. That each of these horizontal lines is a car that's sitting there not moving, right? And what you want are smooth lines. This is what the computer model shows that we'll be able to get to after we optimize the signals. That somebody can start, and if they're moving at the speed limit, they'll stop once, and then they're out. At the the next 30-second person will basically be uninterrupted flows, and this is with the existing volumes, with all the turns and everything there. This is just by fixing the signals and making them coordinated with each other. So these are the computers. They're supposed to be linked up. This is how historically in Morristown they were linked up, that they had these fiber optics in the sidewalks. And this was done in the 90s. And then at some point along the line, people started digging up the sidewalks, breaking the lines, and then after it happened the first time, it just didn't get fixed. And then you have the utility companies, you have people, construction crews, whatever. So what we have now is a bunch of alarm clocks that are basically ticking at different speeds, going off at different times. And that's our signal network. That's not the way it should go. So the fix now is not to rerun these fiber optics and spend millions of dollars. It's a simple fix. It's a few $100 per signal. It's a clock that connects to the satellites, GPS satellites, and resets the clock every hour. So now they'll all be working off the same basic reference. The good news here is that we were able to make, since December, huge progress with DOT. They've purchased the clocks that we need. They went out to install them yesterday, and they didn't have the right cables. But we're close. We're very close. And so this is major progress in 2 months from the state DOT. So we are on the precipice of getting these GPS clocks in and then restoring the signal timing to its initial settings, which will produce very improved outcomes. And then ultimately, we came up with our own signal timings that we've now submitted to DOT and that they're in a process of reviewing, which will provide those progressions. But the difference between the first signal timing and the second is like 10%, not like some of these larger numbers like 30 or 40% savings. So this is what we expect to see in terms of the average signal timing around the green, frankly. So this is a minute saved in the morning and in the evening for each car, each of the hundreds of cars, just circulating the green, not talking about corridors or anything else. So that's huge, and that will ultimately reduce total delays in the town by 30% throughout the day, the number of stops by 12%, and reduce fuel consumed by over 1,000 gallons of gasoline every day, that just by changing the signals. So the fourth thing, and I promise I'm almost done. So we can make better data-driven land use decisions and assess developers for their traffic impacts. So what we're going to be able to do, and what we started to talk about, is that this data will become the baseline for planning and zoning boards to utilize. They will then plug in their impacts and send them back for our traffic engineers to review. Right now, everybody's conducting their own counts at any given, on these different projects. And not to say that those counts are wrong, but it's very expensive to go about that. And we don't have a way of storing it other than, in a bunch of filing cabinets upstairs and of analyzing it. So it creates a foundation. And it also creates a foundation for cost sharing and continued analysis. So the land use law in New Jersey allows the town to do this. Most towns don't do it just because it really is so complicated, and the courts have put such a high bar on the level of analysis that we would need in order to assess developers. I think that the technology has finally caught up to the legal requirements. So what we've done, I went over this already just to kind of give you a recap. There's 41 different intersection improvements, 2 new bicycle corridors, 33 added crosswalks. We're going to need a few conversations in the town, to say the least, on each of these, and we intend to make them neighborhood-based and make them corridor-based. So this was really just to let everybody know what's going on with the signals, to let everybody know what we've found, major network-wide findings, and we'll talk about the green next.
Wait,
and
can you
after
just
that-
go back to the, where are the 2 new bicycle corridors?
They are, I believe, Speedwell. I'm not sure of the second one, but I know Speedwell Avenue, we found a way to build from the bicycle plan to create a cross-section. So I'd have to get an answer for you on the second one. And then 33 added crosswalks. These crosswalks are almost exclusively, like right now we have intersections with 1 or 2 crosswalks, not like all 4. So we're talking about adding crosswalks at the rest of the legs of these intersections, which is a best practice. So we'd like to come back next month. I'll have the video working, I promise. Share these ideas for the green, all the benefits that it'll provide, and and then, begin these kind of neighborhood dialogues on a prioritized basis on each of these smaller projects. And then moving ahead with this cost sharing is going to require a zoning ordinance amendment to kind of get some of that money in the door to fund these improvements. So that's it. I appreciate your time. Sorry if I...
Thank you, Phil. Oh, I have one quick question. Did you say what 3 lights the town actually controls, or, sorry?
Water
Washington and Mills.
Street, is it Mills?
Washington and Mills.
And
Probably MLK.
is it,
Probably Abbott and MLK.
Looked
Is it
like
Spring and MLK?
it was Spring and Morris, actually. No, it was, I'm sorry, Spring and by Bethel Church.
MLK?
Was it MLK?
Or Water Street?
it's not the one that we did at Morris and
Coal
Elm.
or water?
Cole.
Back up.
That's right.
Wait.
There you go.
Yeah, so it's Elm and Morris, Spring and MLK, and Washington and Mills.
Phil, during our meeting, you also brought up the fact that this plan also is going to determine the capacity of the arteries in town, not just the intersections.
Yeah, I mean, I think what we discussed was that the way kind of engineering standard, technical standard, is to look, the intersections are the bottlenecks, right? And if you have functioning intersections, the assumption is that the segments between those intersections are going to function as smoothly as the intersections do or don't. So that was, that's like the main metric that's kind of industry standard. Some of the other things that we did, but I don't think we've really crunched yet, is, maybe to your point, is around corridor travel times, and using that as another metric to measure speed, because like A through F doesn't always mean a whole lot to everybody, but like, and we did this for Speedwell Ave, for CVS, like traveling from Morris and Spring up to Speedwell and Sussex, like everybody knows about how long that should take or could take, and to show the differences there. So if we're looking at certain progressions and certain legs of a trip, I believe we have enough data to run that sort of analysis.
And the model is such that with changes either in development or changes in traffic patterns, your baseline data is constantly being updated?
That's the idea.
So if a developer does a study and you supplement it, the model adjusts to the new data?
So we, and as part of the professionals that you authorized at the beginning of the year, we needed better traffic capacity, and now we have it. So there will be a traffic engineer that's going to kind of be the keeper, not me, of the Synchro data. The town's engineering department also now owns the software to maintain this. So that's the idea, is that it will be our data, and it will be kind of constantly updated. So even things that haven't happened yet but are proposed to happen.
The model.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Cool.
Phil, or Council President, can I
You have a question?
When we met on the 19th, we had discussed the study itself. You said it was pretty voluminous, and however, you did say that you were going to share that with the council.
Sure.
Would it be possible to get a copy of that study? It doesn't have to be hard copy. I guess it could be either, whatever's easiest, but just to see.
Yes, and so we've been going back and forth. I just wanted to make sure with our engineers that what I have was the complete kind of body of data. So I'm happy to do that. It's great bedtime reading.
Sure. Thanks.
You're welcome. So we'll circulate it through the clerk.
Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. Great
Okay,
job.
Thank you.
We look
Yes.
forward to what you got coming
for your time.
for us next.
That's pretty interesting.
Since I don't want to do it in California.
Okay, moving on to council liaison reports. Do we have any council liaison reports from council members?
Yeah. I guess I don't know if people know, but I was appointed this year to the Environmental Commission, so I was appointed after the January meeting, but thank you to the council president for bestowing me this honor.
Oh, you're welcome.
So I attended the meeting on the 6th, and it was a full hour. There were a lot of things that were discussed. I guess just quickly, 3 highlights. There was an open space grant that was awarded to the Elliott Street Community Garden. So kudos and congratulations to Councilman Armington for that. And as I understand, you're going to be providing the Environmental Commission with an update in the spring. Secondly, the hydrology and hydrology study for the Foots Pond for Foots Pond is estimated to take 8 to 12 months. I'm not quite sure when that time frame starts or ends, but there is going to be a detailed briefing at the Environmental Commission meeting at the March meeting, and that's going to be done by Town Engineer Anthony DeVizio, so thank you for that. That's March 6th for anybody that's interested, or with the Friends of Foots Pond Wood Group. And the Environmental Commission meets at 7:30. And thirdly, the Kleitman Woods project was kicked off on June 5th, as I understand is nearly completed. And the ribbon cutting, and there's going to be some additional planting in May. The ribbon cutting looks to be May 1st, but as I understand, it's almost done and looks beautiful. So that's all I have.
It does.
Thank you. Planning Board, Parking Authority?
Park Authority meets next Tuesday, the 20th, at 14 Maple, 6 o'clock.
Thank you, Bob.
Anybody would like to come?
Oh, I'm sorry. I wanted to just say probably the most heartwarming part of the meeting was a high school student attended the meeting who was engaged as a result of, well, I don't know, just because she's interested in the environment. So it was a young high school student from Morristown High School. So it was really nice to see young people involved, and their meetings are open to the public, too.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Councilwoman Deeb. Anything from the Housing Authority? Okay, moving on to calendar of events. Anything council members would like to share with the public? Regular business items.
Okay. All right, we have one ordinance for introduction on the agenda this evening. That's ordinance number 4-2018, an ordinance of the Town of Morristown amending and supplementing Chapter 5 entitled Animal Control. Can I have a motion to introduce?
I'd like to make a motion.
Second.
Are there any questions or comments from the council regarding this ordinance? Okay. Ordinance 4-2018 has been introduced properly and will be considered further during public hearing at the meeting on February 27th. We have I have to take a roll call.
Roll call.
Thought I was going smooth there. Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilwoman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
And Council President Foster.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We have 2 ordinances for adoption this evening. Ordinance 2-2018, an ordinance of the Town of Morristown in the County of Morris, State of New Jersey, amending ordinance number 18-2017, establishing compensation for management/non-union positions in the Town of Morristown, New Jersey, and amending all ordinances concerning such compensation heretofore adopted. Can I have a motion to adopt?
Make a motion to adopt.
Second.
This time, I would like to open the floor, yes?
I'm sorry.
Oh, open the floor to the public, if you'd like to make any comments regarding this ordinance, public hearing. Okay.
Seeing none.
Seeing none, I'll close the public portion. Any comments from the council, please?
Roll call.
Okay, on motion to adopt, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Abstain?
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Foster?
Yes.
The ordinance is adopted. The second is ordinance 3-2018, an ordinance amending and supplementing the Code of the Town of Morristown, Chapter 7, Traffic, Section 40-2, handicap parking on streets for private residences, to add a dedicated handicap parking space for a resident of 16 Phoenix Drive. Can I have a motion to
Make a
adopt?
motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay. At this time, I'd like to open up the floor for public hearing for any comments or questions on ordinance 3-2018. None? Any comments and questions from the council? Okay.
Sorry.
On motion made, Councilman Armington.
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb.
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
And President Foster.
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. This evening, we have 14 resolutions on the agenda for approval, unless...
I'd like to pull 44.
Okay.
44.
44, R44.
Any other resolutions council members would like?
I'm going to have questions on 49 and 50.
So do you want them pulled for separate, or?
I could ask a quick question, if you'd like to keep them on.
Sure.
It wasn't clear in the paperwork that we received that that's being paid for by the airport. Usually, it's very clear that it is, but on these two it is, so leave them in.
Just so, Mr. Iannacone, I had the question mark right next to it.
Oh, you had the
When I
same
went
question?
through, I went through dealing with the questions. on
Thank you.
there. Yep.
Thank you. Okay, so I'd like to make a motion that we vote on all the resolutions excluding Resolution 40.
Well, I have a question. 44 was pulled, but
Yes.
55, is that the same as 44?
No.
No.
It's related.
It's related. But it's not the same.
Right.
They're related, but they're not the same.
Could we pull that, please?
Pull 55?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion that we approve MMOS Resolution R43, R45, R46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, and 56.
Second.
Okay. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis? Yes. Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Foster.
Yes.
Okay, those resolutions are approved. Would ask for a motion to adopt Resolution 44.
I'll make a motion.
A second.
Okay. Discussion by the council.
Just a question. I didn't see any minimum bid on this.
It was recommended by the firm that we are proposing to assist us that there not be a minimum set,
Okay?
and to allow the market to set the minimum. They believe that we'll get a better price if we allow the market to set the minimum. And we still have the ability to decline the bid if it doesn't come in as high as we'd like for it to.
Okay.
So the intent is to cover our costs associated with the property?
Our intent is to get as much as we possibly can for the
But
property.
at least to cover the cost of the acquisition and administrative fees, hopefully.
As far as the purchase of the property, is that what you're
Sale of
asking?
the property for the
Yes.
proceeds.
Yes, that is our intent, certainly.
So I have a couple of questions. So there's no minimum then? There's no minimum price?
Correct.
Okay. Was there any feedback given to us by the previous Realtor as to why it didn't?
We did not have a Realtor before.
We didn't have a previous?
No.
I thought there was a, I
No,
thought,
the town attempted to sell without using professional assistance before. That didn't work out so well, so we're going to get some professional assistance this time.
further questions from council?
I still have, yeah. Did we reach out to the sheriff's office to see if they would sell it as part of their sheriff's sale?
No.
Is that something that we would want to consider?
No.
As a way to save the 8% commission?
No, I don't think that's appropriate. They're a public agency just like we are, so they would advertise the same methods that we've been advertising before. I don't believe that we would be successful.
Sheriff sales, fire sales, you don't get active bidders.
Yes, that's also a good point. Sheriff sales are typically quote-unquote fire sales, and you don't really maximize the value that way either.
Okay.
Anything else?
Any final questions, Allison?
Okay, Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
This is on resolution
44.
44-2018?
No.
No, it's 55.
just not 44.
Yes. Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
And Council President Foster?
Yes.
Motion carries. For Resolution 55-2018, can I have a motion, please?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Thank you. Comments and questions from the council?
This is the max ban, retaining max ban.
I just had a question about the criteria for selecting this person for this particular situation.
This is a firm that specializes in public auctions specifically for local government. They have over 20 years of experience, particularly selling public property and specifically selling public property in New Jersey at auction. They've worked with many municipalities, particularly in Morris County, but all over the state, and have been very successful. I spoke to several municipalities that they've worked with, the most recent of which is Atlantic City, and every client that I spoke to spoke very highly of the firm and would hire them again.
Did we look at other companies?
There really are very few that work in this market. Public property sales in general is kind of a niche market, and public property sales in New Jersey is a niche market, particularly because it's an auction property. You really need a firm that's licensed as an auctioneer in addition to real estate experts and who understand the auction market.
Okay.
I looked at GovDeals, for example, which we use for surplus property like cars and computers. And the only service we would get from them they would list it on their website, and they would have charged us 7% just to list it on their website. So there really are very few companies that do this in the country, and this is the one that's in New Jersey.
I guess what I'm concerned about is that I kind of went through and as did the mayor, with this neighborhood for a couple of years, that they were fighting against a group home that had gone very poorly managed. And so there was definitely a clear feeling at the time of all those meetings that this neighborhood really wanted this house to be a single-family residence. So by having no minimum set, I'm just wondering, are we setting ourselves up for another situation where we're not going to get a, single-family residence? So I don't, I personally would have liked to have gone back to the neighborhood to talk with the street about how they're feeling. I just got this on Friday, so I didn't really have a chance to do that. So I can't really go ahead with supporting this kind of direction without reaching first to the people on that street. I would like to ask the council if there was any way we could possibly, just do our due diligence with going back to that neighborhood to asking for their input. That's just been my experience with, I don't want to make a decision in a vacuum.
If I may, Councilman, to address your concern, the administration has a similar concern that we'd like to see that property brought back on the tax rolls and add to that beautiful neighborhood. And I believe that by maximizing the marketability and the market for this property, that we have the best chance of getting the right buyer who will put that single-family home back to its glory, if you will.
Well, with all due
And
respect,
if I might,
Administrator,
if I might continue,
okay?
Madam
Just wanted
Councilwoman.
to comment on what you just said.
But just wanted to finish my thought. We've attempted to sell this at auction twice through traditional channels with no bids in either case. And I think part of that is that the word wasn't out to the right people. One of the reasons why MaxSpan is such an attractive partner for us is that they have a database of over 100,000 potential investors and buyers that they've worked with in the past. They use an extensive marketing strategy that advertises in the New York Times and other publications to get this out to as many people as possible in the community, in addition to the real estate community. The more people that know about it and the more people who have the funds to bring into Morristown and to restore that home and to put a family in it that should be there, I think the better chance we have of getting that done. And really, I think bringing in a real estate partner to help us do that is the best way to make that happen.
But Jillian, that was my question. Why an auction as opposed to using a good, strong realtor that's local? That is bringing the residential people in.
I'm going to answer part one, though.
There's a limited number, that knows the community and sells the community. And, why auction as opposed to just using the usual?
Well, I'll answer part one, and the mayor
Is there
will answer part
an
two.
auction
The auction is
required
required by law, so I'll
Okay,
answer that.
That's what I
And-
thought.
And the second thing is, okay, so you want to pick Weichert, Caldwell, Remax? Who you want to pick?
Oh, wait, we can't do it anyway. By
No,
law,
you can't, that's right. So that's why. And to back up the business administrator's position on this, I strongly recommend the council go down this road and get this house sold. And this is the way to do it.
Just to confirm, I assume it's zoned for single family?
Yes.
I just want to make it clear, though, that the house exists with 6 bedrooms. It's built like a dormitory. It's really not suitable for a single-family residence. So there is a lot of work required that's going to be needed to upgrade or just move into this house. It's not move-in ready. So the attempts to sell it, I think, as is, it's going to require a lot of work. The reason I wanted to kind of get the neighborhood's opinion and perhaps have another meeting with just the neighborhood, I know that the mayor was generous with his time to meet with the neighborhood when we were getting the house, trying to deal with the situation at the time. I think it's just as important to perhaps meet with the neighborhood now to get an idea to involve. Because if there's anyone that knows the street, it's the people that live on the street. So that was my interest in trying to go back and involve them. The house is going to need a lot of work. There was a house that was bought and flipped 2 houses up the street, and it was, I think, bought at a fire sale, and it was flipped. And so my concern in asking these questions is just, are we going down the right path? But if the mayor's confident that this is the right path, then, I'll defer to the administration.
Whether we do that now or later, it's going to be sold at auction. That's the process it has to take. So I think arming ourselves with an expert who can help us maximize that process is the way to go. And certainly,
It's just an auctioneer, they're just a facilitator,
yes,
I think you should say that.
they are a facilitator, exactly.
Right, it's the
They're a
process is the
facilitator
process.
and they do the marketing process. That's
Process
what
is
they're
the
doing.
process.
But as far as the process to sell the property, it's sold as is. It's sold as an auction.
I don't want to take too much of
That
the
doesn't
council's
change.
time. It's fine, but the only other thing I noticed in the language of the ordinance was that it said strictly the town council is making the determination. I would like to say that I think it should be the town council and the administration or the governing body. I don't understand why the onus is just on the council, because usually it does say the governing body.
It is a resolution that has to be adopted by the governing body. So it is your action that would need to be
Politics.
You can say with
taken.
the recommendation of the administration, but you can't.
Yes.
You have to take the action as the governing body.
But it is by auction, required by law. We have the right to reject the bids once they come.
Right.
That's where your safety is in place.
We
for
do
the
have
minimum
that.
bid. Can we
Right.
call the question?
Thank you. I think we have a better understanding, so thank you,
Thank you.
Jillian. All right,
Thank you.
call the question, please.
Okay, on motion made for 55-2018, Councilman Armington,
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis.
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb,
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone.
Yes.
Councilman Silva.
Yes.
And Council President Foster.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Moving on to unfinished business. Councilwoman Deeb, you asked that we list pedestrian safety.
Thank you. I appreciate it. The sign was installed. Thank you very much to the administration. My concern is that, my understanding from the accident is that the driver was turning left onto James Street, and they couldn't see the crosswalk. If you're on Maple and you're making that left, you still can't see that sign. You can only see the sign when you're driving up on James Street. So is there anything, perhaps more paint, more illumination of the crosswalk? Because when you're making that left, and I know there was just one accident, so perhaps this isn't such a high priority, but it's one accident too many. Maybe brightening the lines or using a brighter paint or having the sign so that it's facing, when you're making that left turn, you can see it.
We'll have engineering and DPW look into it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you. All right, moving on to, I hope council members had a chance to see that the Board of Adjustment 2017 annual report was included or sent out by our town clerk, so there are no questions. I'd like to move on to the council appointments.
Okay. You all received in the packets the candidates for the second alternate member of the Board of Adjustment. I would ask for a nomination at this time.
I'd like to nominate Linda Stamato.
Oh, wait, we're doing Board of Adjustment.
This is for the Board of Adjustment.
I'm sorry.
That'll shock her.
Nominated.
Council, put her on the Board of Adjustment. She'll be like, what happened?
Forgot what I was talking about.
I'd like to nominate Stephen Polipchuk.
I'd like to nominate Christopher Hayes.
Okay, just a second, please. Okay, I will start with the candidate Hayes. Councilman Armington?
No.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Pass.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Councilman Silva?
Yes.
Council President Foster?
Yes.
That is 4 votes. We have a,
You gotta go back to work.
oh, you passed, I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. With 5 votes, we hereby make the appointment of Christopher Hayes to second alternate member of the Board of Adjustment. Next on the agenda is the nomination and
Now,
council vote on Commissioner of the Morristown Parking Authority. May I have a nomination, please?
yes, I'd like to nominate Linda Stamato for this.
Any other nominations? I will take a roll call. Councilman Armington?
Yes.
Councilwoman Davis?
Yes.
Councilwoman Deeb?
Yes.
Councilman Iannacone?
Yes.
Even though that's 4, can I just keep going? Councilman Silva? And
Yes.
Council President Foster?
Yes.
And Ms. D'Amato is appointed. Thank you.
Are there any questions on the correspondence from council members?
February 24th.
Seeing none, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Trying to run through 'em. Trying to run through 'em.